It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Colorado Rockies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're happy to say it's very pleasant right here at Dodger Stadium. The rains apparently have come and gone. This will be Game 2 of the 4-game series. Dodger record against Colorado, 5 wins and 1 loss, and, of course, that was last night. Tonight, Clayton Kershaw going to the mound in pursuit of his 100th career victory. It'll be the 5th time he tries to go for number 100. He tried last Sunday in the snow and cold in Denver and walked away without a decision, so he's got another shot tonight. His record against Colorado is excellent. 14-5 lifetime, 7-2 here at Dodger Stadium, and 6 wins in his last 7 starts against Colorado. Put that all together, chances are he might do it tonight, but standing in his way, the Rockies send out Eddie Butler, a right-hander who is 0-3 in his career against the Dodgers, 3-1 in the other games. In fact, he's beaten the Giants twice. The Dodgers lead San Diego by 4. Colorado trails by 8.5. And the Dodgers will have Greinke tomorrow night and Bolsinger on Sunday. So stay tuned for what we hope will be a good ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this. On the scoreboard, it's very obvious, no runs, no hits. Got it. He's done it. Hi to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the series with the Rockies. And for the 5th time, Clayton Kershaw goes to the mound looking for his 100th career victory. For Clayton, he did not earn a decision his last start last Sunday in the snow and cold in Denver. He allowed 5 runs on 8 hits in 5 2/3 innings. However, with Tommy Reynolds' ball club, Kershaw is 6-0 in his last 7 starts against the Rockies. Tommy Reynolds names as he fills in. The bench coach suddenly becomes the manager as Walt Weiss trying to get over the appendectomy. They say he's resting comfortably in a downtown hotel here in Los Angeles. So here's Tommy's lineup. Charlie Blackmon leads off in left field and Troy Tulowitzki at short. Nolan Arenado at third base, Willen Rosario at first. Carlos Gonzalez, the 9th inning home run hitting hero last night, is in right field. Nick Hundley behind the plate. Drew Stubbs in center field, batting 7th. DJ LeMahieu batting 8th, and Eddie Butler the pitcher. And all eyes will be on Kershaw tonight for a lot of reasons. And as we watch him carefully, we'll try and figure out just what's been going on with him. For instance, if we look at his career with runners in scoring position, the league is hitting 198. Last year, with runners in scoring position, the league hit 190. This year, with runners in scoring position, the league is hitting 357. And there are several other interesting notes from last year in this. It is a clean-shaven Clayton Kershaw getting ready to pitch to Charlie Blackmon. Blackmon hitting .286, runs well, takes low, ball 1. 1 ball and no strikes to Charlie. 5 home runs, 14 runs batted in. He's also stolen 4 bases. So the left-hand hitter waiting, Kershaw back with a pitch for a strike, and the count 1-1. If you have followed our telecasts and broadcasts throughout the year, we always talk about a pitcher and how he goes according to his pitch count. Here's the 1-1 pitch, and Blackmon promptly bangs it into the gap in left center. It's going to be cut off by Peterson, and Charlie will hold on with a long single. So Blackmon begins the game with a base hit, and Troy Tulowitzki will be coming up. Troy Tulowitzki. In the first 15 pitches that Kershaw has made this year in every game, the league is hitting .292. From 16 to 30, he really is in command. They're hitting just .176. And then the next 2 groupings of pitching, he gets pushed around. From 31 to 45, the league is hitting .296 with 2 home runs during those pitches. Clayton looks at Blackmon, works too low high, ball 1. And when he gets to 46 pitches, 46 to 60, it's a shock. The league is hitting .440 against Kershaw. Last year, only .175. So we'll be watching his pitch count carefully tonight to see what kind of an indication we get. Clayton out of his stretch and throws to first. Blackmon a threat to steal. Gets back to the bag. Troy Tulowitzki checking in against Clayton Kershaw. Tulo has 3 home runs in the past against Kershaw and a .259 batting average. He also has a couple of doubles against Clayton. So the 1-0 pitch on the way, and he bounces one that gets away from Grandal. Down to second on an obvious wild pitch goes Charlie Blackmon. So a runner at second base and nobody out. And that was a wild pitch. He missed home plate by about 3 feet, and it bounced away from Grandal. So Tulowitzki up there with a 2-ball, no strike count. The toughest team that Kershaw has to pitch against is Clayton Kershaw. I mean, he was so obviously an incredible pitcher last year. He's trying to beat Clayton Kershaw, and it's tough. Tulo waiting on a 2-0 count. Kershaw ready and delivers, and this one is low, ball 3. 3-0. So Tulowitzki, who has hurt Clayton in the past, has the count his way 3-0. Tulo only has 2 home runs, so you wonder whether Tommy Reynolds will green light him 3-0. On deck, Nolan Arenado. Kershaw looks back at second. Now the 3-0 pitch on the way. Tulo looks at a strike. 3-1. Another thing about Clayton, usually this year, first time through the lineup hits 203 against him. The second time through the lineup, the opposition is hitting 350 against him. So that would be very unlike Kershaw numbers. Here's the 3-1 pitch to Tulo, swung on and fouled away. So the Rockies shortstop with a full count. Last night, Tulowitzki struck out 3 times. He was robbed of a hit by Jimmy Rollins, and he flied to center. Waiting on deck, Nolan Arenado, the talented third baseman with the glove, is also very talented with the bat, hitting in the number 3 slot. Kershaw hands in his sides. 3-2 the count to Tulowitzki. Tulo hitting .289. Kershaw out of that full extension. Left-hander ready, and the 3-2 pitch swung on and fouled back. So still 3-2 the count. The temperature at the start of the game, 65 degrees. It's a little bit better than last night. Last night at the start of the game, it was around that, and then it got to 59. Nice crowd on hand tonight, and we have a canopy of blue overhead, thank goodness. Those angry-looking clouds have moved out. Kershaw, deep in thought, lifts his head, reading Grandal, nods in agreement, looks back at Blackman. And time now as Blackman backs out of the box at second base. Tulowitzki out of there at home plate. So still 3-2 the count. Blackman single, wild pitch to second. Tulo trying to pick him up. Tulowitzki has 11 runs batted in. The pitch to him is swung on and missed, and down goes Tulowitzki. So he is having some series. He has already struck out 4 times in his 6 at-bats. It'd make it 5 at-bats. So Tulowitzki really struggling. Not only striking out, fails to even advance the man. And the batter now, Nolan Arenado. Arenado checking in at .292. Tulowitzki back into the dugout. We were talking about Kershaw fighting Kershaw. I would guess Tulowitzki is fighting Tulowitzki. If you are aware of the story that broke in New York a few days ago. Here's the first pitch to Arenado, swung on, pulled to the hole by the diving Rollins, with the ball hit ahead of him. Blackman had a hold at third. So with Tulowitzki unable to advance Blackman, the Dodgers dodge a bullet for the moment. But Kershaw in a first inning jam, first and third, 1 out, and Willen Rosario coming up. Rollins doing his best to keep the ball on the infield, but he couldn't do it. Willen Rosario is hitting .320 against Kershaw. He has a home run. Rosario hit one last night, so he has 2 home runs for the year. Rosario is a wonderful hitter, especially against left-hand batters. So the right-hand hitting first baseman used to catch a lot, now plays first since they got Hundley. First and third, 1 out, no score first inning, and Rosario in and out. Well, we mentioned earlier about what has happened with runners in scoring position against Kershaw, though we'll see what happens this time. Clayton set at the belt, looks at first, comes to the plate in the dirt. A nice block by Grandal. 1 ball and no strikes. Again, it comes as a shock with runners in scoring position last year. The league hit 190. This year, with runners in scoring position, the league is hitting 357. So Honeycutt and Mattingly studying as Kershaw goes to a stretch. No score, 1 out, first inning. Clayton delivers, and it's swung on and missed. It gets away from Grandal, and a 1 ball, 1 strike count. So remember the pitching in the first 1 to 15 pitches. The opposition hitting 292. From 16 to 30, they're hitting just 176. Well, he's ready to make his 14th pitch. Clayton looks down to get the run. Blackman down the line from third. Arundel away from first. Clayton set, and the 1-1 pitch on the way. Big slow curveball in for a strike. That is a Clayton Kershaw special. That's his calling card. That big slow bender up there and then drops right in. So 1-2 the count to Rosario. Rosario homered to right field last night. He also had a base hit to center. The 1-2 pitch coming up. Clayton delivers. Fastball got him looking. So on the heels of a 73-mile-an-hour curve, a 95-mile fastball puts him down. So 2 out, 2 strikeouts in the first inning. And the batter now is Carlos Gonzalez. Last night, Carlos Gonzalez came up against Jimmy Garcia, got a fastball around the knees, and hit one of those no doubt about it jobs more than halfway up the pavilion. That was a 3-run home run, turned the game around, and from being down 4-2, the Rockies won 5-4. What does Gonzalez do against Kershaw? Not much. He's hitting just 167 against him. Clayton's first pitch, fastball up and in, ball 1. Gonzalez does have 2 home runs of his 5 hits against Clayton. And the multi-talented outfielder off to a very slow start has Charlie Blackmon at third, Arenado at first. The key was striking out Tulowitzki. Now the 1-0 pitch on the way. Clayton set and deals. Fastball a little low. For Kershaw, with 2 strikeouts in the first inning, he has 58 strikeouts and 11 walks. Though better than 5-1. The last pitch just stayed inside. 2 balls and no strikes to count. Kershaw looking over at Arenado. And the 2-0 pitch on the way. Swung on and fouled away down the left field line, out of play. Game 2 of the 4-game series. Zach Greinke and Jorge De La Rosa tomorrow night. Sunday afternoon, Mike Bolsinger and Kyle Kendrick. And don't forget tomorrow, the Old Timers game. We turn the clock back to a championship club back in 1965. Clayton ready. Out of his stretch, checks the runners at the corners, and decides to throw to first. Arenado back on the bag. Arenado does not have a stolen base. Charlie Blackmon over at third has 4. And for Colorado, they are not a running team at all. When you play in Denver, you play for that 3-run home run. Here's the 2-1 pitch coming up to Carlos Gonzalez. Kershaw delivers, and that's fouled away. Another good fastball. 2-2 the count. So the deuces are wild here in the first inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, and 2 on the corners. Arenado at first, Blackmon at third. Grandal going through his signs, then settling into a crouch. Kershaw out of his stretch, looks down the barrel. Gonzalez waiting with Hundley on deck. The 2-2 pitch on the way. Clayton ready and delivers, and it is fouled off by Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez with his numbers. He has struck out 28 times. Tulowitzki has struck out 29 times. So still 2-2. No score, first inning. Kershaw at the belt now goes to the stretch. And the 2-2 pitch on the way. Clayton delivers, and it's driven to left field and deep. Back goes Van Slyke to make the catch right on the warning track. So Kershaw dodges a bullet on a well-hit ball to left field. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. And at the end of half an inning, no score. and I'm sure causing palpitations with Don Mattingly and Mark McGwire. Here's the way the Dodger lineup shapes. Jock Peterson leads off in center, and Jimmy Rollins at short. Howie Kendrick at second. Adrian Gonzalez hits cleanup at first. Justin Turner is at third. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Andre Ethier in right field. Scott Van Slyke in left. Clayton Kershaw on the mound. As Adrian Gonzalez gets ready, so does Eddie Butler, the young right-hand pitcher, on the mound for the Colorado Rockies. 24 years old, out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Signed out of Radford College by the Rockies, a first-round pick. Throws hard and struggles. He's a bit wild. He has 19 strikeouts, but he's also walked 19. And here's Jock Peterson to lead it off. And first ball swinging, hits one foul out of play, and the count 0-1. Couple of notes on Eddie Butler. First of all, he's pitched well on the road. Butler's ERA on the road is 3.1. His best pitching seems to be in the middle 3 innings. His earned run average is 2 during that stretch. He works inside to Peterson, and a 1-ball, 1-strike. Left-hand hitters, however, have hurt him a great deal. They're batting .322 against him. The 1-1 pitch to Peterson is swung on and missed. 91-mile-an-hour fastball. And the count 1-2 to Jock. 10 home runs, 21 runs batted in. 26 hits, 28 walks. Waiting on deck, Jimmy Rollins. No score, first inning. Peterson looks at a pitch that just misses, and the count goes 2-2. Another thing for the Dodgers to keep in mind, if and when they get runners on base, they run well against Butler. The next pitch is inside. Base stealers so far against Eddie Butler this year have stolen 9 out of 11. He walks a lot, especially to hitters leading off. He's walked 8 times to a leadoff hitter. He's 3-2 to Peterson, and it's strike 3 call. Jock was ready to go to first base, and the pitch catches the outside corner, and down he goes.
Shortstop, number 11.
So we can take another look. Peterson thought it was ball 4. Mike Winters, the veteran umpire, rings him up, and we have 1 down, and the batter now, Jimmy Rollins. So Rollins trying to get something started, hitting .175. He's had a little success against the Rockies. He has a 5-game hitting streak against them, and he led off last night with a double, takes a strike. Rollins doubled and walked, and then went 0 for 3 throughout the rest of the game. Butler, both feet on the rubber, rocks and turns. Right hand is fastball fouled away. He hits 93 on the gun. 0-2 the count. One of the things that Butler has really had to fight, the fact that he falls behind so much. Strike 2 pitch way inside. Well, he's ahead of Rollins 1-2. He's had 18 3-0 counts this year. 18 of them. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Right hand is fastball is low. 2-2 the count. The other thing about Eddie Butler, he has not lasted very long. He's averaging 5 2/3 innings. Right-hander's 2-2 pitch, swung on, ground ball, just foul. Over first base and down the line. Willen Rosario diving. I think if the ball had been fair, Rosario might have caught it. But it went foul and eluded him as Rollins hits it hard. And down the line foul she goes. So still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Jimmy Rollins. Howie Kendrick on deck. Butler into the windup. Right-hander delivers in the dirt, and he goes 3-2. So he went 3-2 to Peterson. Now he goes 3-2 to Rollins. So immediately get the idea that he fights his control. Eddie works quickly. Back he comes 3-2. Fastball is whacked to right. If it carries, it's gone. It carries into the bullpen, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. Jimmy Rollins hits it into the Rockies bullpen. That's his 4th home run, his 12th run batted in, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. Pitch was down at the knees, might have even dipped a little lower than that, and Rollins, no doubt about it, cleared the gate, bangs it into the bullpen, and the Dodgers have a 1-0 lead. The pitch now to Howie Kendrick, in for a strike. That would be the 3rd home run allowed by Eddie Butler this year. Now the strike 1 pitch, a look for a strike, so Kendrick in a hole now. The Rollins back in the quiet of the dugout. 1st inning, Dodgers out in front 1-0. Jock Peterson over to say something to him, and there's a line drive base hit to right field on a no-ball 2-strike count. So Kendrick, a bullet to right, and that will bring up Adrian Gonzalez. So the Dodgers, after Peterson is called out, they get a line drive home run by Rollins, line drive single by Kendrick. Kendrick, here at Dodger Stadium, is almost impossible, it seems, to get out. He was hitting .394 just a few games ago at Dodger Stadium. So here's Adrian Gonzalez for the runner at first. Dodgers with a run on the board. Butler ready and delivers. Adrian looks, and that's low. Ball 1, 1-0. Gonzalez putting up big numbers, hitting .367, 9 home runs, 32 runs batted in, and just 2 away from 1,000 RBIs in his career. 1 ball and no strikes. Butler set, looks over his shoulder, and then backs off the rubber. We can tell you the Giants pounded the Reds 10-2. Bumgarner winning his 4th. Belt and Posey hit home runs. Belt had a big day, knocked in 4. 1 ball and no strikes the count. Butler set, ready, very deliberate, now comes to the plate, low and away. 2 balls and no strikes. A game that just started in San Diego. The Nationals picked up 4 in the 1st inning. That's Jordan Zimmerman against Odresimer Despaigne at Petco Park. Despaigne roughed up in the 1st inning. 2-0 pitch, instead a throw to first. Howie Kendrick back on the bag. Eddie Butler has a 1st-round pick signed for 1st-round money. That means about $1 million. So they do think the world of him, and he is only 24 years old. Butler set. Now the 2-0 pitch. Adrian holds up, and it's off the plate. Ball 3. And of course, that's the familiar count causing Butler so much grief. Justin Turner waits on deck. We'll have some red beards when Turner gets up there. Here's the 3-0 pitch on the way, and Gonzalez looks at a strike. 3-1. Troy Tulowitzki way over to his left, but he has not crossed the line between shortstop and second. Arenado way over in the hole at short, with the outfield straight away. 3-1 the count to Adrian. Butler at the belt. There goes the runner Kendrick. The pitch is ball 4. And the Dodgers now not only have a run in, they have 2 on, and Justin Turner coming up. Well, if you like red beards, you've got him. For Clayton Kershaw, after a shaky 1st inning, he made 21 pitches. Dodgers have not only given him a run, they're trying to get some more. And here's Justin Turner. So Kershaw very interested. He made 21 pitches in the 1st inning. There they are, the Redbeards. Eddie Butler, Justin Turner. On deck, Yasmani Grandal. 1 out, 2 on, 1 in. And the Dodgers lead 1-0 in the 1st inning. Butler hands it aside, tries to hide the ball back of his hip. Now set at the belt, looks at the runners. Kendrick at second, and the first pitch, an awkward swing. Turner a half swing for a strike. Kind of cocks his head as if he almost hurt his neck. That was not one of his good smooth swings at all. 0-1 the count. So Peterson called out. Rollins homers, Kendrick singles, Gonzalez walks, and the strike one pitch coming up. Butler instead comes off the rubber and just bluffs Kendrick back to the bag. Dodgers with a little 2-game losing streak. They have beaten Colorado 5 of 6 this year. Kershaw intently watching. Butler out of a stretch, and the strike one pitch on the way. Turner has a look, and that's low off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Butler now has exceeded Kershaw. Clayton made 21 pitches. Butler has made 23 and has just 1 out. 1-1 to Justin Turner. Butler delivers fastball, and a good one at 94. They have faced each other before, the two Redbeards, and Turner has gone 6-for-9 against Eddie Butler. Eddie a long look in. Nick Hundley shuffling cards behind the plate. Now the 1-2 pitch on the way. Butler instead turns and throws back, and they have picked off Kendrick. Eddie Butler. A quick turn and a throw to his second baseman LeMahieu, and they hang Kendrick out to dry. Kendrick, bluffing as if he was going to third, paid the price. Though a good quick throw, and he had nowhere to go but back to the bag, and done. So 2 out, a runner at first, and the 1-2 pitch to Turner. Butler delivers, fastball fouled away right into the mask of the catcher Nick Hundley. So a somewhat embarrassed Howie Kendrick, because the longer you play, the more chances you're going to be embarrassed. For a veteran, of course, to be picked off second base, it looked like he was intent on putting on a good bluff to go to third, and instead he pays the price. 1-2 the count to Turner. Butler ready. Here he comes. Fastball hit late and back into the screen. Late because it was 94 miles an hour. For Turner, as we said, 6-for-9. He has walked twice, and he has a couple of doubles. 1-0 Dodgers. Home run by Jimmy Rollins. Adrian Gonzalez short lead at first with 2 out. And the 1-2 pitch is taken low, ball 2. So Butler spending a lot of bullets now. He's made 27 pitches in the first inning. Yasmani Grandal waits on deck. Butler a long look in. Basically 2 fastballs, slider and a curve. Back he comes, and it's fouled away again. So the fastball's fouled back. Basically, they talk about Butler as a sinker slider pitcher, and he gets hitters to chase the slider off the plate. Right now he's been staying with the fastball, and Turner's been fouling him off. Here's the 2-2 pitch again. Right-handed delivers, slapped into right field. That'll be a base hit. Stopping at second is Gonzalez, but of course immediately the Dodgers think about Kendrick, who was picked off second base. Remind you, last night in the 7th inning, that's when Gonzalez tried to steal third after a base hit. They nailed him, and then Grandal got a base hit. That turned out to be huge, as the Dodgers wound up losing by the run that might have scored. Though we'll see about that mistake at second, as Turner is now 7-for-10, hitting a cool .700 against Butler. Yasmani Grandal has his average up to 307. They load up the right side of the infield. Grandal batting left-handed. Swings, pops it in the air, foul behind the plate off to the left. Hundley coming back, but no chance. Kangaroos way back up into the second level. No balls and 1 strike. They count to Grandal. I think maybe Yasmani feels that was a pitch he let get away. He fouled it away. But he took a couple of practice swings. He shook his head watching the ball go foul. That's usually an indication that he had a good shot at a very good pitch. 0-1 the count. So Butler now has made 30 pitches in the first inning. 0-1 the count. Right-hander ready. The strike 1 pitch and a good one in for a strike. And the count 0-2. Butler is 6'2" and a somewhat slender 180. Rangers went after him, but he opted to go to Radford and then eventually signed with the Rockies. Strike 2 pitch. Grandal fouls it away, hitting that inside out off to the left. No balls and 2 strikes. Yasmani, a switch hitter, batting .364 in limited experience batting right-handed and .299 left. All of his power as a left-hand batter. 4 home runs and all hit from this side. No balls and 2 strikes. Butler's deal in the dirt. Nice save by Nick Hundley. That easily could have gone to the backstop. So Hundley makes a big play, breaking ball, and he's able to backhand it out of the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count. Butler laboring to get out of the first inning. He's got 2 outs. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Grandal waiting and time at the plate. It was called by Hundley. Mike Winters, the veteran umpire, indicating who called. Mike Winters had some great moments. He was umpiring when Tony Gwynn got his 3,000th hit, and he was umpiring when Cal Ripken Jr. had his 3,000th hit. Meanwhile, the pitch just off the outside part of the plate at 94, and we have deuces wild again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. They've had a home run, a walk, and 2 singles, but only the run. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Grandal looks at ball 3. Well, that's an edge for the Dodgers. Not so much for Turner at first, but for Adrian Gonzalez at second. He'll be going on a full count with 2 down. Tulowitzki on the rim and on the other side of the bag. So Gonzalez can take a pretty good lead. 3-2 pitch, runners go, and it's way inside. Ball 4, and that will bring up Andre Ethier. So all of those things that we had heard about Butler have come true. Right now, Stephen Foster going out to the mound. Tom Reynolds on the phone talking in the bullpen. We'll go back and remind you again, left-hand hitters batting .322 against him. He has struggled. A 3-0 count. He's had 19 times. This is also the 9th time this year that Butler has had the bases loaded. That makes him number 1. So for Clayton Kershaw, leading 1-0, he has a chance to get a windfall. Johan Flande gets up down in the bullpen for Colorado. So here is Andre Ethier. Andre Ethier not done very much. 2 for 9 in the past against Butler. Look out for the first pitch with Andre. Here it comes, and it's way off the plate. Just as well for Eddie Butler, because Ethier on the first pitch, if he puts it in play, he is 8 for 12. That would be a mere .667 batting average. Want to know the count to Andre. 5 home runs, 13 runs batted in. The 1-0 pitch swung on and missed, and the count 1-1. Slider and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Butler checking. It's Gonzalez, Turner, and Grandal out on the lines. The 1-1 pitch to Andre Ethier, swung on a broken bat, line drive to Tulowitzki. So Ethier breaks the bat and loses some of the sting with the flight of the ball, and it's right at Tulowitzki. Talking about flight of the ball, Jimmy Rollins with one out in the first inning hits one in the seat. The Dodgers get one, but they leave three. And at the end of an inning, after 39 pitches, 1-0. Could have been a huge inning. So Kershaw gets one, but he could have used a lot more. As you can see, the numbers that we were talking about, in tough spots, he's been pushed around. So the best thing for Clayton to do is to keep people off the bases, but he gave up 2 base hits and a wild pitch in the first and got away with it. So now in the second inning, it'll be Nick Hundley to start it off. Kershaw's first pitch, a soft line drive at Jimmy Rollins. One away. By the way, Jimmy Rollins hitting that home run. That was his 220th home run, and it was also 899 RBIs. Jimmy busy talking to second base umpire Marty Foster, and we have one out, and Drew Stubbs checking in. Interesting things, when things are going your way, you get every break in the books. You can't believe how you can be so lucky. And when things start to turn, just the opposite. The other night, Andre Ethier broke his bat, got a base hit. He breaks his bat tonight with the bases loaded and hits a soft line drive to Tulowitzki. Also for the Dodgers, a veteran like Howie Kendrick at second base with one out. Bluffs going to third, pays the price. They pick him off. So the Dodgers really spinning their wheels in the first inning and wind up with 1 run, 3 hits, and a walk. The 1-1 pitch from Kershaw, that's a fastball up, ball 2. Drew Stubbs. They thought a great deal of him when he first came up with Cincinnati. However, it's been a struggle. He takes ball 3. Stubbs hitting only 135. 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. Fine defensive outfielder. And DJ LeMahieu on deck. Now the 3-1 pitch is taken for ball 4. So Kershaw gives up his first walk. Mattingly watching his every move.
Second baseman, number 9, DJ LeMahieu.
DJ LeMahieu checking in and looking up the past to perhaps get an idea of the present. LeMahieu hitting .258. He has a double along with 8 hits against Kershaw, and 8th in the league, hitting .324. Kershaw out of a stretch, looks over at first, now comes to the plate, and it's foul back. Drew Stubbs over there at first has stolen the base, but he's also been caught. So as we said, the Rockies playing in the rarefied air of Denver, they're more of a 3-run home run club than stolen base. LeMahieu waiting. Now the strike one pitch on the way. LeMahieu takes a slow breaking ball, but it's up. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. LeMahieu hit his first home run this year, and it happened to be here at Dodger Stadium. So DJ waiting, a Gold Glove second baseman, and 6'4". Throw to first, and Stubbs back on the bag. LeMahieu has only struck out 16 times, so if you fall behind in the count, Stubbs runs well, and they're thinking about a play. On deck, pitcher Eddie Butler. Butler, by the way, is 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts. So here's the 1-1 pitch coming up to DJ LeMahieu. Kershaw ready. Big curveball, a one-hopper to third. Turner down to Kendrick, who juggles and stayed on the bag anyway. He was unable to make a throw to first, but he fought it and won the battle. So instead of a double play, it's a 5-4 force, and Eddie Butler will be coming up. And now let's see. I think Tom Runnels is going out to talk to Marty Foster. Ball was hit hard. Turner got it down to second, and Kendrick juggling. And of course, what Runnels figures is that Stubbs was on the bag before Howie Kendrick recovered. Well, on TV, the ball is out of his glove. He reaches for it, juggles it again, now turns his back on the camera. And by the time Kendrick gripped the ball with his bare hand, we couldn't see the foot of Stubbs. So Tommy talking to Marty Foster. Tommy Runnels, the bench coach for over 7 years. Now they're going to ask the umpires to review it. If you're wondering, Walt Weiss, the manager of the Rockies, they were in Anaheim. He felt poorly on Tuesday, and Wednesday by 4 o'clock, Weiss was taken from the ballpark and had an appendectomy. That's a good shot at it, but even then, it's hard to see the left foot of Kendrick, but it appears that he finally gets possession of the ball there, and then the left foot is just ahead. Yep, that shows it. So Stubbs is forced, and he's out, and that's a perfect call by Mike Winters. So LeMahieu hit the ball hard enough for a double play. Dodgers turned it into a 1-out play. So 2 down, and Eddie Butler coming up. Butler 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts. He is 0 for 16 and has struck out half the time in his career. So 2 down. LeMahieu at first. Kershaw looks at him. Now Clayton delivers, fastball strike. You certainly don't expect LeMahieu to be thinking about running. No way. With 2 out, you're down 1-0, and you have a very weak hitting pitcher. So LeMahieu takes the lead, but he's not going to go anywhere. Kershaw looks, comes back, and it's swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. So remember, Hundley's ball was a line drive, but right at Rollins. Then the walk and the force play and the juggle at second. Kershaw trying to put Butler away. And the strike 2 pitch, off speed for strike 3. The last pitch in the world that Eddie Butler was looking for. So no runs, no hits, 3 strikeouts for Kershaw, a man left, and at the end of an inning and a half, 1-0 Dodgers. Presented by Chef Mirito Seasonings. You'll get yours May 25th at 5:10. Dodgers and Braves. So go to Dodgers.com/promotion. 1-0 Dodgers, although in all honesty in one inning they've not played well, but they did get the home run by Rollins. They load up the left side against Van Slyke, and Butler delivers low and inside, ball 1. Scott Van Slyke at Dodger Stadium this year is hitting .436. He has a 12-game streak against the Rockies. Swings, rolls it to the left side. Arenado is on it and throws him out. So 1 out in the second inning, and Clayton Kershaw coming up. One run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. The run came on the home run by Jimmy Rollins. Clayton saying something to Mike Winters before getting in, and also, holding a pretty good conversation with the umpire. Clayton, left-hand batter, as you know. Butler into the windup, and the first pitch, Clayton takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Kershaw, remember that home run he hit against the Giants over the center field fence. Strike 1 pitch, low and away. That leaves an impression. Darren Dreifert, another Dodger pitcher who cleared the center field fence. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Butler back, check swing on a pitch high. 2-1 the count to Clayton Kershaw. 1 out, bases empty. Dodgers lead 1-0. Tomorrow night, 6:10 game, Zach Greinke and Jorge De La Rosa. The next pitch fouled away. Tomorrow in the afternoon, about 3:30, you should be here for the introduction of the old timers. Then the game itself will be played at 4 o'clock, and then the regularly scheduled big league game at 6:10. The next pitch to Clayton misses, so there's Butler again. He's already made 46 pitches, and it's another 3-ball count. So a young fellow with a lot of ability fighting the strike zone. Fastball fouled away. Three and 2 to Clayton Kershaw. Waiting on deck, Jock Peterson. Once again, the 3-2 pitch swung on and fouled away. So that's got to be maddening for Eddie Butler. Can't put the pitcher away, and he's now made 48 pitches. He did strike out Peterson looking in the first inning. 3-2 the count. Butler ready, and the pitch to Clayton way inside. Ball 4. So we're only in the second inning. Butler is going to be making his 50th pitch. He's already walked a couple and given up 3 hits. But the mistake by Kendrick, being picked off second base, stopped the Dodgers in their tracks in the first inning. So Peterson called out on strikes with Jimmy Rollins on deck. Jock now hitting .241. Though he's fighting it a little bit. Left-hand hitter waiting. Out of the stretch goes Butler. And the right-handed delivers. First pitch swung on and missed. And the count 0-1. Clayton Kershaw standing right on the bag with 1 out. Rockies certainly don't expect him to do any running. No balls and 1 strike. Butler at the belt, looks over at Kershaw, back and misses low to Peterson, and the count goes 1 ball, 1 strike. .51 pitches already with 1 out in the second inning. Butler's 1-1 pitch on the way. Right-handed deal, swung on late and foul back. Late on a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. So Jock Peterson trying to keep it going against the young right-hander Eddie Butler. Butler was very impressive with his coaches in the minor leagues. In fact, one of them, Dave Burba, who pitched in the big leagues, the pitching coach at Modesto, was talking about Butler and actually compared him to Kevin Brown. That's a stretch. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Butler ready, and the pitch to Peterson hits him, I believe, as he tried to get out of the way, down around the knees. So for Butler, he's in more trouble. A walk followed by a hit batter. And now Jimmy Rollins coming up. Pitch got Peterson on the knee. He raises that right leg, so he's locked in when he puts it down, and it got him right on the right knee. So Peterson talking briefly to Rosario, and here's Jimmy Rollins. Rollins homered in the first inning on a 3-2 pitch. He has 220 home runs, 899 runs batted in, and he's dynamite on that 3-2 pitch. He has a look at ball 1. Home run in the first inning. Though he is on a 3-2 count, he has 2 home runs, 8 walks, and he's hitting .333. And again, Brown checking in. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and Rollins swings, ground ball to LeMahieu. He turns, and they'll get 1, 2 low back to first, and they get the double play. So Rollins rides the elevator from the penthouse with the home run to the basement with the double play. Fine play by DJ LeMahieu. And at the end of 2, Dodgers 1, Rockies nothing. 3-2 pitch. Dodgers lead 1-0, although they certainly had ample opportunities to add to the one. So we go to the third with that 1-0 lead, and the Rockies coming up now, second time around. Blackmon, Tulowitzki, and Arenado going up against Clayton Kershaw. Charlie Blackmon opened up the ball game with a single to center, was wild pitch to second, and wound up stopping at third. So Kershaw's first pitch here in the third inning for a strike, and the count 0-1. One run, 3 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. Blackmon fouls the next pitch back to the wire, and the count 0-2 to Charlie Blackmon. When you look at the Rockies, 7 different positions, they're a very good defensive ball club. And Charlie Blackmon certainly is one of the reasons, and quite a few of the others can really hold their position defensively very well. Strike 2 pitch down and away, ball 1. However, the Rockies struggling with pitching, which is almost redundant when you talk about the Rockies, Nolan Arenado. The starting pitching in the rarefied air, they pay a terrible price. The earned run average is over 7 for the starting pitching. Pitch in the dirt, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. So we're watching Kershaw very carefully on his pitches. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way. Clayton delivers, and it's swung on and missed as Charlie staggered across home plate. He wound up 5 or 6 feet up along third base. So that's a left-hand batter who certainly didn't get cheated on the swing. I mean, he let it fly on a fastball, lost his balance, and staggered away. So Blackmon strikes out for Kershaw. He now has 4 strikeouts. And the batter Tulowitzki, who has struck out in the first inning and has struck out 4 times already in the 2 games, and takes a change for a strike. Tulowitzki went with 3 strikeouts last night, so he struck out 4 times in 6 at-bats. Hits a chopper, speared by Kershaw, who throws low, and Gonzalez makes a good saving catch. Kershaw bounced the throw. So Tulowitzki just not hitting like the Tulo we've seen before.
Number 28.
Kershaw up in the air, and then flips it low, and a nice play by Gonzalez. 2 out, third inning. Nolan Arenado coming up. Arenado has a half a dozen home runs, 17 runs batted in. Kershaw into the windup. Clayton ready and deals. Swung on, pop foul off first, and that's going to go well back in the crowd. 0-1 the count to Nolan Arenado. As good a fielding third baseman as you will see no matter where you look. I mean, he is dazzling. From Lake Forest, California. Arenado got a Gold Glove 2 years ago. He'll get a lot of them before he's finished. He takes off the plate, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Last year, Arenado had a 28-game hitting streak. Not only a club record, wound up being the longest streak in the big leagues last year. He takes inside. 2 balls and 1 strike to Nolan Arenado. 6'1", 210. 24 years old. Came up with the Rockies in 2013. 2-1 pitch, swung on and missed. Might have gone after a pitch lower than the strike zone. 2-2. Arenado, talking about streaks, when he was in high school, hit safely in 27 of the 28 high school games. Check swing. It's going to be strike 3. The tag at the plate by Yasmani Grandal. So Kershaw strikes out 2. That's 5 strikeouts for him in the first 3 innings. And at the end, 2.5, 1-0 Dodgers. Troy Tulowitzki. I mean, there's no way. So Daniel Descalso takes over at shortstop, and Tulo goes back to the clubhouse. Eddie Butler ready, right-handed delivers, pitch in for a strike. 0-1 the count. So Tulowitzki 0 for 2 with a strikeout tonight, 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and he has hit just 1 ball out of the infield. Base hit into left field by the backhanded effort of Descalso. So Howie Kendrick, when he came up to the plate, he had singled to right in the first inning. He was hitting .382 here at Dodger Stadium. In his career, he sees the ball well in this ballpark. He's hitting .355, and of course you can add some points now as he singles to left to go 2 for 2. So here is Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez walked in the first inning. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits, and 3 walks, and only 1 run. Butler ready and delivers. Adrian fouls it away. 0-1 the count. So Daniel Descalso takes over at shortstop for Troy Tulowitzki. And for Butler, laboring would be the perfect word. Ready to make his 59th pitch. Eddie at the belt. Slender right-hander ready. Looks at Hundley settle in, and then way off the plate. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Got to be maddening. I mean, they rave about his stuff, the action on the pitches, the good sink. Can't get him over the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Butler looks over at first at Kendrick and then off the rubber. Remember, Kendrick picked off second base in the first inning. He put too much of a fake in his fake. It looked like he was going to try to steal third, but he was just faking. And then when he tried to get back to second base, he was nailed. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Adrian takes in the dirt. Another block. And again, Butler behind. There's just no way you're going to pitch anywhere when you are consistently behind to the hitters. Plus, He's already made 60 pitches, and there's nobody out in the third inning. So Eddie trying to find the strike zone. With all of it, he's only down 1-0. The 2-1 pitch, and there goes Kendrick, swung on, ground ball, backhanded by Rosario, and then throws it away, trying to spot his throw to Butler. So all the way to third base goes Kendrick. All the way down to second base goes Adrian Gonzalez. So we'll wait on the scoring. Tough play. Rosario goes way to his right and comes up with the ball. Then he tries to turn and find his pitcher. It was a great stop. He tried to lead him and threw it 6 more inches that Butler could have reached. So Rosario makes a good play, but then can't make an even tougher play. So the Dodgers have runners at second and third. We're waiting for the scoring. They haven't changed anything yet. But Justin Turner's coming up with first base open, and the Dodgers with a golden opportunity to open it up. So it's going to be an error all the way, charged to Willen Rosario. And Butler really in a jam now, and Turner takes ball 1. Second and third, nobody out. Turner, Grandal, and Ethier. Butler from a stretch. And the pitch to Turner missing, ball 2. 2-0 the count. Butler struggling with the strike zone where he could pitch from a windup. He's trying to find the zone, pitching from a stretch, and he's behind 2-0. So Jimmy Rollins, who homered, hit into a double play, watching his every move, and Turner fouls it away. Rollins hit a 3-2 pitch for the home run in the first inning. Justin Turner this year, unbelievable with runners in scoring position. 11 RBIs, hitting .438, and he's got 2 of them out there now. So Butler ready, in the 2-1 pitch, fastball fouled away. Turner fouled off a bunch in the first inning and then singled to right field. He is 7 for 10 against Eddie Butler in the past. And Grandal, who walked, on deck. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw, alone with his thoughts, leading 1-0, has struck out 5, allowed 2 hits in the first inning. A clean-shaven Clayton Kershaw. And a drive to left down the line. That's going to score 2. Turner on his way to pick up 2 ribbies, and he has a stand-up double, and the Dodgers now jump out in front 3-0. So Justin Turner continues his amazing hitting, especially with runners in scoring position. I don't know, if you were the manager, would you look it up and you'd say, well, now let's see. This guy is 7 for 10 against my pitcher. I have first base open. The only problem is, in Tommy Runnels' mind, you got a left-hand hitter in Grandal coming up. So he opted to let Butler go head-to-head, and for the umpteenth time, Turner gets a base hit. He's now 8 for 11 against Eddie Butler. So the Dodgers, 3 runs, 5 hits.
Number 9,
And Grandal coming up, walked in the first inning. Grandal, who had such a tough April, hitting .189, has really come alive. Meanwhile, they're on the phone to the Rockies bullpen. The 67th pitch made by Eddie Butler. And a drag bunt is foul back. Grandal wanted to bring it with him. Couldn't do it. Laughing a little bit to a former teammate, Nick Hundley. Remember, they battled for the catching job in San Diego. Well, Hundley's the regular catcher in Colorado, and the same goes for Grandal here. Johan Flande gets up again in the bullpen for Colorado. Strike one pitch, big swing and a miss. 0-2. There's Flande getting ready. You have Ethier following Grandal. 3-0 Dodgers. Third inning, nobody out. Turner at second base. Grandal takes high, ball one. 1-2. So Butler is ready to make his 70th pitch with nobody out in the third inning. And Ethier waits. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Grandal. Butler watching that second base, back to his hitter very high. 2-2. Butler coming into the game had an earned run average of 3.7. As we mentioned in our opening remarks, in his career he's 0-3 against the Dodgers, 3-1 against the rest of the league. And he's away again, so another 3-ball count. Tough on the manager, it's tough on all the players. Very hard to stay on your toes when you have a pitcher pitching around the plate. 71 pitches in 2 innings plus. Butler desperate for a strike, and the 3-2 pitch to Grandal, ground ball in the hole. First base left by Rosario, so the pitcher has to cover, and on the play Turner advances to third. The Grandal grounds out. 4-1. The first out of the inning. And now here's Andre Ethier. Now they have Flande in the pen. We'll see if they come and get Butler. And it looks like Butler will stay in. Ethier broke his bat and hit a line drive at Tulowitzki, who was then playing shortstop. If we get a report on Tulo, we'll pass it along to you. Haven't heard a word. Infield is up. Ethier trying to pick up an RBI here. Butler ready and delivers, and the first pitch is low, ball one. With a runner at third and with a pitcher with so many 3-ball counts, you look up wild pitch and the answer is 0. A little bit of a surprise. And the next pitch missing, ball 2, 2-0. Butler has hit 3 batters plus Peterson, so he's wild in that area. The 2-0 pitch on the way. Adrian, a ground ball into right field. I think Wilden Rosario wasn't quite sure what to do with that. I think if Rosario moves at all, he probably can handle that ground ball. I'm not sure whether he lost it or what, but it's just a routine ground ball to Rosario's right, and he just stopped. I don't know, maybe he thought LeMahieu was nearby, but that was his play easily. So Ethier gets a break, winds up with a base hit to right, a run batted in. Dodgers now lead 4-0. And here's Scott Van Slyke. Butler ready. Right-handed delivers. Van Slyke takes ball one. Well, you can understand what has happened to the Colorado Rockies. And when you watch them have the 2 innings, 2 1/3 innings tonight, you can see why at one stage they lost 11 in a row. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Scotty takes in at the hands. 2-0 the count. So the Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits. Rockies no runs, 2 hits. Dodgers left the bases loaded in the first inning. 1 out, Ethier at first. Butler ready, and the 2-0 pitch swung on, grounded foul outside of third, down the line, and the count 2-1. Well, the Dodgers certainly making it a little easier for Clayton Kershaw with 4 runs in the first 2 1/3 innings. Van Slyke back up and waiting. Butler ready to make his 79th pitch. Two-one pitch coming up to Scott Van Slyke. Fastball and saved. Another wild pitch possible. And Hundley does a very good job to slide on the shin guard. Van Slyke looks at him and grins for the moment. 3-1 the count to Scotty. And here it comes, the 80th pitch in 2 1/3 innings. 80 pitches. Butler ready. And the 3-1. There goes Ethier on ball 4. So it's a nightmare game for Tommy Reynolds, not to mention what it is for Eddie Butler. So the batter is Clayton Kershaw with 2 on and 1 out. Jock Peterson on deck. Rockies thinking that Kershaw might bunt. Butler ready. Clayton shows bunt, pulls the bat back, and it's in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Clayton clean shaven in the beginning, then he had kind of a beard, then he had just a jawbone covering, and now that's gone, which might be because he comes into the game 1 and 2. The strike 1 pitch, he fouls the bunt off. So when you're Clayton Kershaw, a great pitcher coming into the game with an earned run average over 4. He allowed 9 home runs all last year, and he's allowed 5 this year. So what else is there to do than shave off the facial hair? No balls, 2 strikes. Clayton walked in the 2nd inning. Butler's 83rd pitch is bunted. Butler picks it up, looks at third, directed to throw to first by Arenado. So the bunt figured, the bunt works, and the Dodgers now, with 2 out, have runners at 2nd and 3rd, leading 4-0. And with first base open, Jock Peterson will be the batter. And we'll watch now to see what Tommy Reynolds does. He's got a left-hander in the pen. And he's going to go and get him, I assume. And Reynolds gestures bring in the left-hander. So for Eddie Butler, the Butler didn't do it. He lasted 2 2/3 innings. Goes out losing 4-0. And of course the runners at 2nd and 3rd are also his responsibility. So the 24-year-old struggling, throwing so many pitches. We'll be back. He made 83 pitches, gave up at least 4 runs. Runners are also his responsibility out on the lines at second and third. He gave up 6 hits and 4 walks. So he gives way to Johan Flande out of the Dominican Republic. Flande, 6'2", 170. Been around a while. 29 years old. Originally drafted by the Phillies back in 2004. He was involved in something that rarely happens. Last year in June, 2 pitchers faced each other in their big league debut. You don't usually see that. Marco Gonzalez started for the Cardinals. Flande started for the Rockies. It wound up a 9-6 Cardinal win. Neither pitcher involved in the decision. Second and third, 2 out, and here is Peterson against the left-hander Flande. For Flande, this is his first game this year. It's in for a strike. Last year he appeared in 16 games and he was 0-6. Peterson is struck out, hit by a pitch, drives it to right, and Gonzalez makes the catch on the hard line drive. So for the Dodgers, 8 men come to the plate. Peterson can't hit it much harder, but Justin Turner did. He hit it hard enough to double in a couple. The Dodgers added 1 more, and at the end of 3, it's the Dodgers 4, the Rockies nothing. To you by the Dodge Challenger. With an EPA estimated 30 highway MPG, this car was made for driving in California. Visit Dodge.com today. Eddie Butler sitting in the dugout, and he's probably aware of it, but how about this? He made 83 pitches. He had 6 called strikes, and all 6 were on the first pitch of an at-bat. And that was it. There's Willen Rosario, 0-1. Rosario had an awkward inning. First, hesitating and then allowing the ground ball to go into right field when it looked like he had a play. The other, he makes a great stop, turns, tries to lead his pitcher with the throw, and gets it a little too far out in front. Rosario with a 1-ball, 1-strike count, struck out in the first inning. Fastball, and that thing zipped up there. 1-2 the count. Kershaw has 5 strikeouts. He's allowed 2 hits and walked 1. He is 14-5 against the Rockies, 7-2 here. Kershaw, for the 5th time, trying to win his 100th career game and trying to balance his books like his number, 2 wins and 2 losses. Ball 3. Rosario, Carlos Gonzalez, and then Hundley. Willen, good hitter, hitting .320 against Kershaw and better than that against left-hand pitching. Down he goes. So that's 6 strikeouts for Clayton. 1 out here in the 4th inning. Looking at the most starts in order to get 100 wins, well, Mark Burley 7, Cole Hamels 6, Santana 6, and Kershaw his 5th start trying to get 100. He has struck out 3 of the last 4, 4 of the last 5. Fastball hit to first base. Nice backhand job by Adrian. That does it for Carlos. 2 out, 4th inning. Naturally, it's the other team, but I'm not sure if we can get any information at all. I mean, when you have a player like Tulowitzki coming out of the game, your first thought is, hey, what happened? Why? So we'll try and get some word to the Colorado people to see if they can't let us know what happened to Tulo. Ball 1 to Hundley, lined out to Rollins in the 2nd inning. Dodgers trying to beat the Rockies 6 of 7 meetings. That's in there, 1-1. That's that big slow pitch in for a strike. Hundley frozen at the plate, had to take it. 1-2. Take another look. Big slow rainbow and a pot of gold at the end of it. 1-2. Another one, and Hundley badly fooled. So 7 strikeouts, and Clayton is really dancing to his own music now. He is pitching very quickly, very confidently, and at the end of 3.5 innings, it's 4-0 Dodgers. Their 1965 World Championship by hosting an old-timers game with former Dodger greats. Be one of the first 40,000 fans, receive a 1965 World Series replica ring presented by Security Benefit. Visit Dodgers.com/oldtimers. It'll be great to see some of the fellows from that 65 club. I think we will all have the same reaction Wow, 50 years. Well, we'll see people whom you haven't seen in a while, like Koufax, Tommy Davis, Wally Moon, Ron Perinoski, Jeff Torborg, Wes Parker, Ron Fairley, Al Ferrara, Lou Johnson. Fastball high, ball one. One of the things I always think about for that 65 club is how things that look so dark and bleak can turn around. Rollins, meanwhile, slaps one down the right field line for a base hit. Cargo is up with it, and Rollins walks into second base with a double. The reason we talk about a bleak picture turning around. In 1965, probably the Dodgers' best hitter, in fact, I should erase probably, was Tommy Davis. And Tommy Davis, the big left fielder, broke his ankle. And it was in May, and there was a lot of feeling like, whoops, the air has gone out of the balloon. This is going to be a bad year. And the Dodgers brought up a fella nobody knew by the name of Lou Johnson. We did find out he was called Sweet Lou. And he did something to that ball club. Among things, whenever he got a big hit, he would applaud himself, which was fun. The occasional home run, he'd clap all the way around the base path, but it was infectious. And that bleak look in 1965 wound up being a World's Championship. So you never know. Kendrick going after a bad ball. I think he's annoyed at himself. 0-2. Kendrick is 2 for 2, single to right, single to left. Four runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for Colorado, playing without Troy Tulowitzki, who went 0 for 2 and left the game. Fastball, a flare into right field. Rollins had the hold, so he'll just take third. And the Dodgers have runners at first and third and nobody out. For Howie Kendrick, he continues to amaze with his hitting here at Dodger Stadium. He's getting close into the middle 390s. And 3 for 3 tonight. The Padres began the day 4 games behind the Dodgers, and they are being walloped. Washington leading San Diego 8-0 in the 5th inning. So here's Gonzalez, walk, reached on an error. Gonzalez with 2 RBIs away from 1,000 in his career. Oh, 1. Ground ball to short. That's going to get a run in. They're going to get 1. They will get 2. Then the Dodgers lead 5-0 with 2 out. So Rollins carries the run in. No RBI when you hit into a double play.
Number 10, Justin Turner.
Justin Turner wearing out Eddie Butler in the past and wearing him out again tonight. Turner singled in the first inning against Butler. That made him 7 for 10. And then he doubled with first base open in the third. That made him 8 for 11 against Butler. And ball 1. First base was open. They opted to pitch to Turner with the left-hand hitting Grandal on deck, and they paid the price. 1-1 to Justin Turner. Turner's one of those guys who obviously enjoys playing. He's usually smiling and laughing. Others look at it as to what it really is, a job, and they're deadly serious. 2-1. That's a strike. Johan Flande, 6'2", 170. 29 years old, out of the Dominican Republic. 3-2. His first game this year, but he was in 16 games last year. Made his debut in June. In the dirt. So Turner, with a single and a double, now has a walk. With everything else, the Dodgers have received 5 walks. So they have 5 walks, a hit batter, 8 hits, and they lead 5-0. Yasmani Grandal turning around. He's only had 11 at-bats right-handed this year. And he is 4 for 11. Fastball fouled away. A friend of mine sent me a videotape for to look at online. It was about riding a bicycle, and it began by saying, you know the old expression, it's as easy as riding a bicycle. Once you learn to ride a bicycle, you will never forget how to ride a bicycle. Except this bicycle. And here's what was different. Otherwise, you look at it, it was just a bicycle. But if you turn the handlebars to the right, the wheel went left. Ground ball to LeMahieu. That'll be the 3rd out. But think about that. You're on the bike, and when you turn the handlebars to the right, the wheel goes to the left. Do you know how hard it is to make your brain think? It's virtually impossible. They show a youngster who learns to do it in like 8 months. It's 5-0 Dodgers, and will turn the wheel on the bicycle. Fans are having a ball in the stands, and a bat as well. Just don't swing it, Tiger. Attaboy, go Dodgers. They're great. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw has struck out 7 in 4 innings. He is on a strikeout tear. He has struck out 4 of the last 6, 5 of the last 7. Drew Stubbs followed by DJ LeMahieu and then Flande. Stubbs walked in the 2nd inning. Drew's had a lot of problems making contact. Foul ball. 37 at bats. He has struck out 22 times. Big reason why he's hitting only 133. Oh, and 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kershaw was pitching very rapidly in the 3rd and 4th inning. Now he's ready to make his 59th pitch. Were you with us at the start of the game? Foul ball off his foot. We were talking about Kershaw and the toughest part of a game for him, and the toughest part so far this year, the pitches from 46 to 60, and he's ready to make his 60th pitch. 46 to 60 prior to tonight. The opposition was hitting 440 against him. Last year, the same amount of pitches, the opposition hit 175. So here comes number 60. Check swing. 2-2. Now from 61 to 75, the opposition has hit 148 against him. And there goes Stubbs striking out again. I think he was asking the plate umpire if he swung at a strike. For Drew, that is his first strikeout of the night, and for Kershaw, that would be his 8th strikeout. You give him 5 and it's a walk in the park. 50-0. LeMahieu hit into a force play. And ball 1. So really for Clayton Kershaw, the rest of the game pretty much he's in control, although he has allowed 3 home runs late in the games. 2 home runs between 76 and 90 pitches, and then 1 more after 91. But he has gone through that really bad period. 46 to 60 pitches. Fouled away. 2-1. Have you decided whether you could ride the bike or not? The man who had the bike, he was an engineer, and he would take that bike on tour, and he would have $100 bill, and he would get somebody out of the audience, and he would stay, 20 feet away from the person on the bicycle, and he would hold out the $100. He'd say, all right, you ride the bike from where you are that close to me for $100. And you can't put your feet on the ground. You got to ride the. No way. No bloody way. Can you turn the handlebars to the right and the wheel goes to the left and vice versa? Three and 1 to count. 1 out. 5-0 Dodgers, 5th inning. Boy, he just throwing nice and easy. 3-2. Just did get a little bit of that fastball. It was the location more than anything. Well, we get a report finally on Troy Tulowitzki. A tightness in the left quad. So Troy coming out so he doesn't do any more damage. Hopefully it'll get loose. Just missed for ball 4. So for Clayton, that would be his 2nd walk.
Pitcher number 58, Johan Flande.
He also has a wild pitch. Otherwise, he's really been in control. Johan Flande, the pitcher, coming up. No idea whether he can hit. He had 1 for 12 in his career. Dodgers are looking bunt. He bunts it in the air. One-handed by Turner. No further play. So Flande pops the bunt up. Nice play by Justin Turner. And with 2 down, Charlie Blackmon coming up. Turner had to correct it and makes it easy. So Charlie Blackmon singled and struck out. LeMahieu has hit into a force play and walked. And Gonzalez has flied to left and grounded out. Otherwise, everyone else in the Rockies lineup has struck out. Fastball strike. I mean, he's throwing 94 so easy. Blackmon opened up the game with a base hit. Got as far as third. Rockies fail to score. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dodgers scored 1 in the first, 3 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. 5 runs, 8 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Rockies. The leadoff single by Blackmon in the first inning. And then Arenado in the first inning also had a base hit. 1-1. Foul ball. I think for Clayton Kershaw, it reminded me of Jack Nicklaus in this way. A lot of times, because Nicklaus was so great, his greatest opponent was Jack Nicklaus. And I think Clayton Kershaw in the first inning looked troubled. He was fighting himself. Gave up 2 hits, but then struck out 2. Didn't look that sharp in the second inning, and he really took off in the third. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2-2. Clayton making 73 pitches. Butler in 2 2/3 innings made 83 pitches. And the crowd having fun on a Friday night with fireworks after the game. Two balls, 2 strikes. LeMahieu not in a mood to run, not when you're down 5-0, 2 out. Two and 2 to Charlie Blackmon. And there goes LeMahieu on ball 3. The throw down, not in time. So LeMahieu down 5-0. Decides to shake up his ball club to do something. It was close. Rollins just a hair late with the tag. A good accurate throw. Had to move it over to get a knee. And by that time, LeMahieu's right foot's on the bag. Randolph disappointed. I think he thought he had a good shot at him, and he did. Almost got him. So LeMahieu at second, 3-2 the count to Charlie Blackmon. LeMahieu's second stolen base of the year. See you later. So Kershaw takes things into his own hands, strikes out Blackmon. That's his 9th strikeout. He has worked the required 5. He is in strong command, and the Dodgers lead 5-0. your Southern California Toyota dealers. Save big on any 2015 Camry now at the Toyota Time Sales Event. 5-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 5th inning. Clayton Kershaw has struck out 9 in 5 innings, and he has made only 75 pitches. In the bottom of the 5th, Andre Ethier to start it off. Ball 1. Earlier we were talking about Howie Kendrick and how in his career he has hit so well at Dodger Stadium. 364 in his career. You know who was the best hitter as a visiting player in Dodger Stadium? A great player. So Howie is behind him. The player, Roberto Clemente, the right fielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Clemente hit .377 playing in this park. 2-1 the count to Andre Ethier. 5-0 Dodgers, 5th inning. And ball 3, 3-1. Johan Flande in relief of the starter, Eddie Butler. 3-2 the count. Andre Ethier lined out to short, breaking his bat in the process, and single to right, driving in a run in the 3rd. Fastball pulled hard under the glove of the diving Rosario and on out into right field. So it looks like Ethier is now 2 for 3 as he drills one by Rosario.
Number 33.
And the batter will be Scott Van Slyke. Davey Lopes over to make sure that Andre Ethier is all right. Watch what happens. He swings and twisted that right leg. Didn't have to run hard, limping for that matter. The Dodgers spotted that. I'm not sure if Davey Lopes hollered to him or not. Nancy Flynn is out there, and Don Mattingly also wants to be reassured. And Andre's saying, no, I'm okay. Got a little twinge. Take another look. He's okay there, and then that's where he twisted the leg. You should have seen, if you didn't see it, you shouldn't have seen the play at Wrigley Field, Chicago today. It was extra innings, Pirates and Cubs. Cubs had the bases loaded with 1 out in the bottom of, I think, like the 11th inning, and the score was 10-10. A drive to right, Gonzalez to the track, makes the catch at the bullpen gate, and back to first goes Ethier. Anyway, with the bases loaded in 1 out, the Cub hitter hit a little pop fly into shallow right field. It was going to be the 2nd out. The bases could not move, and the right fielder slipped, wound up twisting, turning, falling down, hurting himself a little bit, and the winning run scored. What a shot. Apparently the outfield at Wrigley was pretty wet. But what a time to fall down. That's a strike to Kershaw. Clayton walked and sacrificed. And gets the bunt down. Flande's going to go to second in time for the 4s. A nice play by the pitcher. One six. A reminder, you received your very own stylish Dodgers coaster set presented by Arco. That's right. The first 40,000 fans in attendance will get theirs when the Dodgers face the Braves on Wednesday, May 27th. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. The Dodgers coaster set presented by Arco. Stan Conti and Don Mattingly talking to Andre. He seems to reassure his manager that he's all right. Kershaw at first with 2 out. Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson swings and misses quite a bit. In fact, he is right behind Giancarlo Stanton, swinging and miss. Stanton swings and misses 38% of the time. Peterson 37.6. Not much difference between those two. 1-1. 2-1 the count. Dodgers with a run in the first, 3 in the third, another in the fourth, leading handily. Colorado had a runner get to third in the first inning, and that's it. They had one runner get to second. Ground ball up the middle. It's going to find its way. And Kershaw is on his way to third and make it standing up. The ball went through the infield with a lot of English on it. That was a pool hole shot for Jock Peterson. He will take it.
Number 11.
Hit it right off the end of the bat, and it just squirreled its way. Kershaw kept on going. Stubbs didn't try to get him. And the Dodgers have runners at first and third. 2 out. That's the second hit in the inning. And here's Jimmy Rollins. So Kershaw leading 5-0, still went from first to third on a base hit. Rollins has homered, hit into a double play, and doubled. Ball 1. Jimmy just 3 for 19 batting right-handed. Peterson and Kershaw at the corners. Foul ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Rollins' home run in the first inning, his 4th of the year. Left side of the infield loaded up. There's nobody over there with Rosario on the bag. So the ground ball into right field. Kershaw scores. Down to second goes Peterson. I mean, you want to talk about loading up when your first baseman, the only man on the right side of the infield, is holding the runner on. I mean, there's nobody between first and second, really. Look at that. Rosario tried to catch up to a routine ground ball. No chance. So Rollins comes up with his 3rd hit. And his 2nd run batted in. So it's 6-0 Dodgers. Clayton working on his shoes. Rosario talking to Flande. Jimmy Rollins having a big night. Single, double, home run. That RBI gives him 900 RBIs to go with his 220 home runs. They'll take the ball and Jimmy can put it in the trophy cabinet. So the Dodgers now leading 6-0. Kyle Kendrick single to right, single to left, single to right again. He has 3 hits. Dodgers have piled up 11 hits to go with the 6th run. Fastball, big chopper wide of third. Arenado makes the play. So the Dodgers scramble and get 1, and at the end of 5, they lead handily 6-0. It was the beginning. It was a harmless single hit by Joe DiMaggio against the Chicago White Sox. It was a game where the White Sox beat the Yankees 13-1. Little did we know at the time DiMaggio would go on to hit in 56 straight. And a couple of amazing notes. In the 56-game hitting streak, he struck out 5 times. Let's go back to this one. Not only did Joe strike out only 5 times, the last 32 games of the streak, he did not strike out at all. That's fouled away. Daniel Descalso finishing up for Troy Tulowitzki, then Nolan Arenado and Willen Rosario. Kershaw very much on form, striking out 9 in 5 innings. Chopper up the middle. Rollins is on it. 1 away here in the 6th. Kershaw now pitching to Nolan Arenado. Single to left and struck out. As we mentioned, Carlos Gonzalez has not struck out, nor has DJ LeMahieu. Otherwise, everyone else has bitten the dust. Carlos has flied to left and grounded out. Ball 1. Tomorrow, game 3 starts at 6:10, but come out early. We'll salute the 1965 world champion Dodgers. 1-1. That game will start at 4 o'clock. There'll be the introductions to the players, and then they'll have some fun. Bring back a lot of memories. But for any and all of us who were here to watch that 65 club, we all have the exact same feeling. Wow, 50 years. Where'd it go? One ball and 2 strikes. He reaches for a little slow curveball, and it's a fly ball to Andre Ethier, and we have 2 down in the 6th inning. Clayton is getting closer and closer to 100 wins. The youngest pitcher was Felix Hernandez, 27 years, 14 days. Then Clayton, 27 years, 57 days. Then CC Sabathia, 27 years, 69, and so it goes. 6-0 Dodgers, 2 out. And ball 1 to Rosario. Clayton has had at least 1 strikeout in every inning. Not here in the 6th. 1-1 the count to Rosario. Turner having a little fun before he flips the ball to Stu Cole. Rosario, a good hitter anyway, especially a good hitter against left-hand pitching, but Kershaw has struck him out twice. 1-1. 1-2. Willen Rosario used to catch a lot. Now he's the first baseman. Rosario from the Dominican, signed as a free agent by Colorado and first came up 2011. 1-2. 2-2. Rosario actually as a kid wanted to be a pitcher, but they told him, you're not big enough to be a big league pitcher. Well, he's 5'11", but the ideal size it would seem, is around 6'3". Two and two. Slow, straight changeup, ball 3. Talking about the ideal size being 6'3". We just double checked. Clayton Kershaw is 6'3". Fastball. Clayton now has gone through the very easy part, that 61 to 75 pitches. He's almost through the 76 to 90. 3-2. Fastball hit slowly to third. Tough play for Turner. Wow, what a throw on the dead run. So Justin Turner just seems to do everything right. Comes back into the dugout with a big grin on his face. Down go the Rockies. And at the end of 5.5, 6-0 Dodgers. Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Get to Nissan's ride of your life for exciting performance and surprising offer. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. 6-0 Dodgers, bottom of the 6th inning. Adrian Gonzalez, Justin Turner, Yasmani Grandal, and Clayton cleaning off the spikes. Big slow curveball for ball 1. Gonzalez has walked, reached on an error, and hit into a double play. Little dribbler on the chalk, going foul and staying foul, so Adrian will come back. And looking at the Dodger lineup so far tonight, Jimmy Rollins has 3 hits. Howie Kendrick has 3 hits. Justin Turner has 2 hits. Andre Ethier 2 hits. That piles up to 6 runs on 11 hits. For Turner, a single and a big double to drive in 2 in the 3rd inning. Two and 1 the count to Adrian Gonzalez. Pulled, knocked down, kicked by Rosario, gets it to his pitcher in time. So Gonzalez grounding out, goes 0 for 3 with a walk. Rosario fighting that thing to the death. And the batter now, Justin Turner. Turner had singled in the first inning, but when he came up in the third, there were runners at second and third. He got a fastball and whacked it into left field for a double, driving in 2 against his favorite pitcher. He's 8 for 11 against Eddie Butler. Turner hitting .306. Ball 1. When it's all said and done, the Rockies have 2 hits, and they got both hits in the first inning. They haven't been heard from since. Fastball, chopper to the hole, backhanded by Descalso to get him. Nice play. Good play by Dan. Dodgers have a lot of work ahead of them. For instance, they're not finished with the Rockies. They play them tomorrow night at 6:10 after the Old Timers game. Then Sunday afternoon, Dodgers go briefly to San Francisco, come home to go head-to-head with the Padres in Atlanta, and go back out on the road to St. Louis, and guess where else? Colorado again. Right. Yasmani Grandal has walked and grounded out twice. 0-2. Six runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers, 1 home run, led by Jimmy Rollins in the first inning. When the Rockies come up in the 7th, it'll be Carlos Gonzalez, Nick Hundley, and Drew Stubbs. Fastball punched foul. 0-2. And strike 3 call. Grandal doesn't say much to Mike Winters. Down he goes. And at the end it's 6, with Kershaw getting ready to go back to work. Dodgers 6, Colorado nothing. Two hits. When he wins his 100th, he will join a rather distinguished list led by Don Sutton's 233, Don Drysdale 46 less than that. Then you have Koufax and Osteen, Valenzuela, Hershiser, Ramon Martinez, Bob Welch, Bert Hooton, and Clayton trying to move up into that distinguished group. Well, he's made 88 pitches, got 3 innings to go. Carlos Gonzalez, one of the 2 who has not struck out, will lead off. Cargo flied to left, grounded to first. Well, he's still throwing in the 90s, 0-1. Clayton had a couple of 95s. And that's going to be hit in the air to right center and drop for a base hit. Over to get it is Peterson. Gonzalez holding. So that's the 3rd hit off Kershaw and the 1st hit since the 1st inning. Clayton now working on Nick Hundley, who has lined out and struck out. Hundley last night struck out 3 times, and then leading off in the 9th inning, he got a base hit, and that was the prelude to the big home run by Gonzalez. That high fastball, 0-1. Six runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 3 hits for the Rockies. Slow and in there. 72 miles an hour. So first you get the 92, 93 mile an hour fastball, and then the change, either straight or the big spinning curve. Fastball just off the plate. Christian Fredericks, a left-hander, begins to warm up down there in the Rocky pen. The pitcher would be due up 4 more hitters. 1-2. Hit foul. Nick Hundley, for years the catcher with the San Diego Padres. Nick originally signed by the Padres out of the University of Arizona. He was born in Corvallis, and he came up to the Padres back in 2008. 1-2. Change up way off the plate. 2-2. Standing at first, Carlos Gonzalez. Fastball. And still throwing at 93. Hundley has good genes. His dad was the former Washington assistant football coach. Then he was the Texas El Paso defensive coordinator. He was an assistant coach at SMU, and he was with Rick Neuheisel at UCLA. His father is now the safety coach at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. 2-2. Everybody was surprised when Nick Hundley went to baseball. They all figured with his football background, that's where he was heading. But in junior year in high school, he quit football. 6'1", 210. He certainly could have played either one. 2-2 to Nick Hundley. Slow comebacker, and the out at first. Clayton slipping and falling down, but still making the play to first. That allows Gonzalez to go to second.
Number 13, Drew Stubbs.
Off speed, and Clayton's leg just went out from under him. Like that. But he kept the ball close. So 1 out. Gonzalez at second. LeMahieu stole second in the 5th inning. And otherwise you have to go back to the 1st inning. Drew Stubbs walked and struck out. Well, he's made 99 pitches, and he's still throwing 93. More than that, however, he's throwing strikes. One and one. Clayton Kershaw really looked like last year's Kershaw, starting in the 2nd inning when he struck out Eddie Butler. He went on a strikeout tear. He struck out 5 of 7, 6 of 8. And I mean, he was just overwhelming. The 3rd, 4th, and into the 5th inning. Ball 2. The inning where he failed to get a strikeout was the 6th inning. Retired the side in order. 2-1 to Drew Stubbs. Fastball hit down the line, going foul, out of play. Don't forget, tomorrow it's a 6:10 game. The Old Timers game will start at 4, and hope you'll be out here with us. Then it'll be Zach Greinke and Jorge De La Rosa. And Sunday, the concluding game of the series and the homestand, Mike Bolsinger and Kyle Kendrick. Pepe Iniguez and Fernando. We'll see Fernando tomorrow in uniform. That's a strike. So Stubbs strikes out a 2nd time. That is also the 10th strikeout for Clayton Kershaw.
Number 9, DJ LeMahieu.
Here's the pitch, and there's the call. So 2 out in the 7th inning. DJ LeMahieu hit into a force play and then walked with 1 out in the 5th inning. And the team trailing at the time 5-0, and he stole second base and wound up staying there. Drive to right, Ethier count across, playing it on a bounce. Here comes the runner to the plate, and he'll score easily. So Cargo brings it home, and it is 6-1 in favor of the Dodgers. And LeMahieu comes up with a base hit and a run batted in. One run, 4 hits. Mike McHenry, a right-hand batter, will be coming up to bat for Flande. Down in the pen, Paco Rodriguez.
Attention, please. Pitch hitting for the Rockies. Number 8, Michael McHenry.
So Michael McHenry coming up to hit. By the way, you might miss Justin Morneau. You figure to see Justin during this series, but he's had headaches. He's had a history of a couple of concussions, and it's a shame not to see him. A wonderful player, banged up right now. And for Justin, heartiest congratulations. He's celebrating his 34th birthday today. So Honeycutt talking to Kershaw, and McHenry a stocky 5'10" and a good 215 pounds coming up. Jimmy Garcia also stretching in the pen, but it's Paco going to work. Mike McHenry went to Middle Tennessee State. He was born in Knoxville. 7th round pick by the Rockies in 2006. And ball 1. McHenry from the same hometown as Todd Helton. Mike remembers as a kid going to the University of Tennessee games, watching Todd Helton play. 2-0. On deck, the left-hand hitting Charlie Blackmon. 2 out. Blackmon waits for a shot, and McHenry at the plate. 2 out. LeMahieu at first, already stole a base in the 5th inning. Fastball at 94. Well, the pitch count is up to 107 in his previous starts. His high last time in 5 2/3 innings. He made 110 pitches in the cold and snow in Colorado. 2-2. McHenry last year hit .316 for the Rockies. Before Pittsburgh, his best average with the Pirates, .233. So LeMahieu at first, 2 out, 7th inning, 6-1 Dodgers. Check swing. They're going to look. No swing, says Mark Wegner. So 3-2 the count to Mike McHenry. McHenry, signed by the Rockies, went to the Red Sox, then to the Pirates, and now back with Colorado. 3-2. LeMahieu goes on ball 4. Well, it could be that he's now pushing it a little bit. The Dodgers already talked to him for the moment.
Number 19, Charlie
and the
Blackmon.
batter will be the left-hander Charlie Blackmon. Honeycutt checking where Paco is. They also tell Justin Turner to go to the mound to clean off his spikes on the big brush on the backside of the mound. And now here comes Mattingly, and he's decided that's enough. So Kershaw made 110 pitches in 5 2/3 innings in Colorado, and he makes 110 pitches in 6 2/3 innings tonight, and he'll get an ovation as he walks off the field. So Clayton, in quest of his 100th victory, it'll be up to the bullpen to make sure he gets it. He turned in a solid 6 2/3. We'll be right back. Kershaw with his 10 strikeouts. He had 2 in the first inning, and he really started going after Butler, the pitcher, in the bottom of the second inning. From then through the 5th inning, he was absolute dynamite. That's went from 3 to number 9, picked up his 10th strikeout in the 7th inning. But that stretch from the bottom of the second inning through the 5th, he looked unhittable. Now Paco Rodriguez will try to get the 3rd out here in the 7th inning. Second game in a row, 110 pitches, but he got along into the 7th this time. Blackmon has singled and struck out twice. And a strike. Charlie singled to center, got around to 3rd, and he was the only one to get to 3rd until Gonzalez scored here in the 7th. Oh, 0-1 to Charlie Blackmon, hitting .287. And line drive base hit to left field. LeMahieu will be stopped, and the bases are loaded. So instead of Troy Tulowitzki coming up, it'll be Daniel Descalso. So Blackmon 2 for 4. That's the 5th hit. Descalso, a sometimes player. Tulowitzki plays all the time. Troy came out after hitting back to the box in the 3rd inning with a tight quad. So Descalso up there in a big spot. Descalso put in some good work with the St. Louis Cardinals. Vesture with the bat, he hit .265, and that's ball 1. Born in San Carlos, went to the University of California, Davis. 3rd round pick by the Cardinals, and he spent 5 years in St. Louis. Grew up playing soccer against Brandon Crawford, the shortstop of the Giants. Good breaking ball. 1-1. Descalso back in 2009 was the second baseman on Team USA, which won the gold medal at the World Cup. 5'10", 190, 29 come October. 1-2. Paco trying to put him away. Kershaw, a very interested spectator. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Wooden bite gets away, but the runners hold. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 out. Clayton sweating it out right now. LeMahieu at 3rd, McHenry at 2nd, Blackmon at 1st, and Paco on the mound. Breaking ball, whacked to right. Ethier going back. It's over his head. It's going to be off the wall. In comes LeMahieu. Right come from McHenry and also Blackmon. So the double by Daniel Descalso makes it 6-4 Dodgers. And coming up to the plate now will be Arenado representing the tying run. And for Clayton Kershaw, that 100th victory is still very much in the air. The Descalso drove it over the head of Ethier. It's off the right field wall. And everybody comes home. In the Dodger bullpen, Yimi Garcia begins to warm up. And timeout, Mattingly going to the mound, and it looks like Paco will be coming out. The Descalso bangs one off the right field wall and drives in 3. So Paco goes out. Kershaw sits, waits, and wonders, and we'll be back. In California Kia dealers. Visit mysocalkia.com to learn more. Saturday at 10, Sportsnet LA brings you a one-on-one sit-down interview with Rick Monday. Get connected with the former All-Star as he discusses being recruited to the Dodgers by Tommy Lasorda. So don't miss Connected with Rick Monday. That'll be Saturday at 10 on Sportsnet LA. Well, all of a sudden, the plot thickens. Paco Rodriguez comes in with 1 run in and runners aboard. And immediately, the long double by Daniel Descalso gets Colorado right back in the game. It's 6-4, 2 out. And here's Nolan Arenado. Single to left, struck out, fly to right. Suddenly, Arenado representing the potential tying run. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Rockies. Big slider, sweeping slider, ball 1. Yimi, of course, came in last night to pitch the 9th inning. Gave up 2 singles, struck out 2, and then Carlos Gonzalez lowered the boom with the big home run. 1 ball and no strikes. And another slider, 2-0. Arenado 1 for 3. He has a half a dozen home runs, 17 runs batted in. Hitting .293. Fastball for a strike. Garcia 6'1", about 175. 24 years old. He'll be 25 the middle of August. Fastball missed. 3-1. Willen Rosario, the first baseman, on deck. Rosario is 0 for 3. So Mattingly saw Kershaw run out of gas. Paco unable to deliver. And the 3-1 pitch, Arenado Slider for ball 4. Now remember, the Dodger bullpen has been magical up until the last 2 games. In fact, the Dodger bullpen collectively an earned run average of 2.2. So the Dodgers get Adam Liberatore up in the bullpen. Dodgers have gotten Kenley Jansen back. He's on the roster, but this is not the game to use him. They want to bring him back in a non-vital role for a couple of times. And a strike. Rosario struck out twice and grounded out, 0 for 3 against Kershaw. Rosario hitting .330. Check swing for a strike, 0-2. So it all started with Cargo getting a base hit to center. 2 outs later, LeMahieu single to right, scoring Gonzalez. When McHenry walked, that's when they took Kershaw out. Blackman singled and Descalso doubled home 3. Foul back. Two on, 2 out, 0-2 the count. Descalso at second, Arenado at first. Check swing. They're going to look. No swing. 1-2 to Willen Rosario. On deck, Carlos Gonzalez. Rosario, the 9th man to come to the plate, and Liberatore heating up. One ball, 2 strikes. High fastball. Down goes Rosario, striking out a 3rd time. So the Dodgers give up 4, but Kershaw is still alive for his 100th win. And at the end is 6.5, 6-4 Dodgers. Dodgers trying to hold on to what is now a 6-4 lead. Friedrich picking up for Johan Yolanda. Friedrich from Evanston, Illinois, went to Eastern Kentucky University. And first pitch fouled away. Andre Ethier lined out to short. That's when he broke his back, and twice single to right. Christian, big fella, 6'4", 215. Off speed on the outside corner. Good pitch. Signed by the Rockies, a #1 pick back in 2008. Finally made it last year. 1-2. Ethier has hit 100 home runs here at Dodger Stadium in his career. Eric Karros hit 132 and Ronsay 127. Two balls and two strikes. Fastball fouled away at 91. Ethier, Van Slyke, and then the pitcher spot. And guess who is warming up in the Dodger bullpen? They said they were going to bring him back slowly. They were not going to bring him in game-deciding situations. Well, there he is, Kenley Jansen. We're in the bottom of the 7th. 6-4 Dodgers. Then Kershaw, then Rodriguez and Garcia. And from the looks of things, Kenley's getting ready. 3-2. Fouled away. Going nice and easy at 92. Friedrich has that long arms. He really pitches downhill. Made his debut against the Padres. He lost 30 pounds. He weighs 215 now. And ground ball. Gold glove. DJ LeMahieu. One away.
Number 33.
Scott Van Slyke rounded to third, walked, single, and flied to right. So he's 0 for 2. Rollins and Kendrick each have 3 hits. Turner and Ethier each have 2. The solitary hit by Jock Peterson. Alex Guerrero comes out on deck, and the pitch fouled away. So Alex coming off the bench to bat for Garcia. Check swing. No swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. Butler, Flande, and now Frederick. And a drive down the line, foul. He paid attendance tonight. Now that we're looking at the crowd on that line drive. Paid attendance 46,662. Over the top, and the fastball missed. 2-2. Christian Friedrich. Fastball, and that'll be that. So he looks very good pitching to Ethier and Van Slyke. Now he'll be facing Alex Guerrero. Kenley Jansen has stopped warming up.
Your attention, please. Pitching for the Dodgers, number 7, Alex Guerrero.
So Alex Guerrero coming off the bench. hitting .364. Guerrero has been very successful as a pinch hitter, 4 for 10, couple of home runs, 5 runs batted in. Off speed for a strike, 0-1. And fouled away. So Guerrero in a hole now, 0-2. Friedrich basically fastball, curve, slider, change. 1-2. He's had a lot of problems. Sore elbow, right hamstring, foul back. Strained a lat muscle. He was hit by a batted ball, so Friedrich knows what it's like to pay the price out there on the mound. And 2 years ago, Friedrich had a stress fracture in his lower back. 1 ball and 2 strikes. In the dirt, swung on and missed. Dodgers go down 1-2-3, and so it has come to pass. After the foot surgery, the long layoff on the DL, the rehab, they said they wouldn't bring him in a tough game, not in the beginning. Well, it's the 8th inning. It's 6-4 in favor of the Dodgers, and here comes Kenley Jansen. Become a tough ball game. Dodgers had a comfortable lead most of the way, leading 6-0. Jimmy Rollins with a home run, a double, and a single, so close to a cycle. Justin Turner has a single, a double to knock into, and then of course Descalso, who took over after Tulowitzki came out. Tulo had gone 0 for 2, and Descalso doubled in 3 in the 7th inning. So here is Kenley Jansen. Carlos Gonzalez will lead it off. He led off the 6th inning, and 9 men came to the plate. So Cargo will start it again. He flied to left, grounded out, and then began the 4 runs with a base hit to center field. Kenley Jansen facing Carlos Gonzalez. Gonzalez 2 for 7 in the past against him. So it will be interesting to see Kenley Jansen. and strike. First pitch, 92. Kenley with the Dodgers since 2011, although he came up very briefly in 2010. 0-1. 0-2. Kenley last year had 44 saves, 28 the year before, and 25 the year before that. Nick Hundley on deck. Down the left field line in pursuit is Van Slyke. It's going to drop foul and jump up into the stand. So Cargo will come back. 46,662 taken in the ball game. Sure hope you'll be out here with us tomorrow. Again, the old timers game at 4. There's a young timer, another one. And then the regular game at 6:10. Ah, life is good, isn't it, honey? You betcha. 0-2. Kenley 6'5" and a good 250. And swung on miss, gets away from Grandolph, and Cargo is safe at first. First we thought it was a foul ball, but the way Grandolph broke to get back. So it was strike 3, and we'll see is it strike 3 pass ball. Take a look. Up there, got off his glove, and it's going to be exactly that. A strike 3 pass ball. Normally you'll see a strike 3 wild pitch. That fastball really sailed. And of course, remember, since Kenley Jansen has not been pitching at all, out with a bad foot, Grandal has never really caught him. So here's Hundley, lined out, struck out, hit back to the box. 12 Rockies have struck out, but they're back in the game 6-4. Messrs. Gonzalez at first. Hundley 0 for 5 in the past against Jansen. Not only is Hundley 0 for 5, he has struck out all 5 times. Six-4 Dodgers. We're in the 8th inning. Hundley with Stubbs on deck. One ball and one strike. Left-hander Boone Logan has been throwing in the Colorado bullpen. Gonzalez does not have a stolen base. Gonzalez last year did not have a stolen base. 3 the year before. 1-2 the count to Hundley. Cargo used to be wild on the base paths. 2013 he stole 20, and the year before 20, and the year before that 26. But only 3 last year. 1-2. LeMahieu stole second when the Dodgers were leading at the time. 4-0. There goes the runner out at the plate. High throw. Cargo is in there. So Hundley strikes out a second time. That means the Rocky catcher has struck out 5 times in 2 games. Remember, Gonzalez struck out but reached on the pass ball. Now he steals second as Hundley strikes out. So Kenley Jansen comes in, gets 2 strikeouts. 13 Rockies have struck out. And the batter, DJ LeMahieu, hit into a force play, walk, and single to right. His single in the right inning. That was in the 7th, followed by a walk to McHenry, and that was enough for Clayton Kershaw. Stubbs striking out. LeMahieu trying to keep the inning going. And a strike. Stubbs having a lot of trouble making contact. He has struck out twice tonight, though he struck out 24 times, 39 at bats. 0-1. Oh, 2. So Gonzalez at second. 1 out in the 8th. 6-4 Dodgers. Jansen has faced 2 batters and has struck them both out. And now Stubbs. And he strikes out the side. What a great way for Jansen to return. That's 2 down. Actually 3 strikeouts, remember, but the pass ball keeps the inning alive. And LeMahieu coming up, hit into a force play, walk, single to right. So it's one of those rare moments where we could see a pitcher strike out 4 batters in the inning. LeMahieu 1 for 2. Fourteen Rockies have struck out. That's a strike. 0-1. Kershaw had 10. Garcia had 1. And Jansen has 3 in the inning. LeMahieu, a very tough hitter anytime, especially with a runner in scoring position. He's hitting .500 with a runner in scoring position. When Cargo stole second, that's the one weakness for Jansen in his career. 31 stolen bases against him and only 4 caught. And all he does is strike out 4 batters. What a way to come back. Welcome back to the Dodgers, Mr. Kenley Jansen, the kid from Curacao. And we're heading to the bottom of the 8th. 6-4 Dodgers. First it was Cargill who strikes out on a pass ball. Then Hundley who strikes out on a stolen base. Then Stubbs goes down, and finally the Yankees. So the rarest of the rare. 4 strikeouts in 1 inning. And Ken Lee, talking to Brandon Lee, has to be absolutely ecstatic. What a way to come back. Your first outing. 5 Dodger pitchers have struck out 4 batters in an inning. And now Boone Logan out of San Antonio taking over. Boone, originally signed by the White Sox. So Logan came up with the White Sox way back in 2006. Then he went to the Braves, had 4, almost 5 years with the Yankees, and now with the Rockies. And he'll be facing Jock Peterson. Peterson with his 10 home runs. Bryce Harper leads with 13. Check, swing, strike. By the way, we alluded to Dodger pitchers, 4 strikeouts in an inning. Brad Penny, Darren Dreifert, Don Drysdale, and Pete Rickard. Little ground ball. Rosario will make the play. So that'll bring up Jimmy Rollins.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
Jimmy Rollins needs a triple tonight for the cycle. He had a home run in the first inning. He doubled in the 4th and singled in the 5th. Now he has 112 career triples. He's been a triple shy of the cycle 12 previous times. Jimmy's home run was number 220. And a little flare down the right field line for a base hit. Over to get it is Gonzalez, and Rollins will hold with a base hit. So a big night for Jimmy. He comes up with 4 hits. Adam Liebertor is tuning up in the Dodger bullpen, and Howie Kendrick coming up. Howie Kendrick, 2 singles to right, 1 single to left, 3 for 4. 6-4 Dodgers, bottom of the 8th inning. And a little like a cutter almost. 0-1. Hit foul off to the right, 0-2. When the Rockies come up in the 9th inning, they're due to have Boone Logan. So there'll be a hitter for Logan, then Blackman, and then Descalso, who got them back into the game. 0-2. Fastball and a good one. So at 92, Kendrick takes a seat. 2 down, Rollins holding, and the batter Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian Gonzalez, with all the fun going on, is 0 for 3 with a walk. And a strike. Boone Logan is interesting enough in the sense that he rarely pitched in high school until he was a senior. He eventually attended Temple College, and he learned to pitch from Craig McMurtry. You certainly may remember that name. Pitched for years with the Braves. And it was McMurtry who helped Boone Logan along and got him to the big leagues. 1-1. Logan, a Texan, has his own ranch. It's called Rio Seco, or Dry River. Good fastball. Boone has a ranch of about 500 acres, but as he said, well, I'm no Chipper Jones. Really 2 pitches, fastball and slider. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Slider hit foul. 1-2. Oh, great pitch. Little slider away. Down goes Gonzalez. So Logan gives up a base hit but strikes out 2. And we are heading for the 9th inning. And so is Adam Liebertor, with the Dodgers leading 6-4. Streaming sports service celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. With real-time highlights, live look-ins, there's pitch tracking widgets and more. Blackout restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Well, this looked like a cruise game for Clayton Kershaw in pursuit of the 100th win in his brilliant career. He struck out 10, tapped out a little in the 7th inning. Paco Rodriguez struggled, and then Kenley Jansen struck out 4 in the 8th inning. Adam Liebertor now coming out of the pen, trying to close up shop. Corey Dickerson will be batting for Logan. And a strike. Dickerson last night went 1 for 3. Went out in a double switch, and Descalso batted in his spot and flied out. The same Descalso who doubled in 3 tonight in the 7th inning. 0-2. By the way, we were mentioning the pitchers who had struck out 4 in an inning. We also have to make sure you know Zach Greinke struck out 4 in an inning last year. No balls, 2 strikes. Dickerson batting .318. And down he goes. So that's 5-6, 16 Rockies have bitten the dust. And the batter now will be Charlie Blackmon. So if you go back to Rosario, who struck out to end the 7th inning, that's 6 strikeouts in a row. Rosario, Gonzalez, Hundley, Stubbs, LeMahieu, and now Dickerson. Blackmon has struck out twice tonight. He also has 2 hits. Fastball, strike. Dodgers 6 runs, 12 hits. Rockies 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. Fastball hit up the middle and goes through. So Charlie Blackmon comes up with his 3rd hit, and that will bring up Daniel Descalso. Up she goes, right by the glove of Liberatore. So Blackmon aboard with 3 hits. He has scored once. And here's Descalso, who scored him when he doubled over Ethier's head up against the scoreboard to drive in 3 in the 7th inning. And ball 1. Descalso got that big double against Paco Rodriguez. Descalso 5'10", but bends at the knees and waist, so strike zone shrinks a little. That's in there. 1 ball and 1 strike. And lined into left field. So Descalso, taking over for Tulowitzki, comes up with 2 hits, and the tying runs are aboard. And Nolan Arenado coming up. So the Rockies are certainly not going to go quietly into the good night. Down in the Dodger bullpen, Juan Nicasio gets up. So it's been Kershaw, Rodriguez, Garcia, Jansen, Liberatore in a Dodger bullpen that's 4th in the big leagues with an earned run average of 2.2. And Mattingly's not going to wait any longer. So Liberatore gives up 2 hits. And with a right-hand hitter with a half a dozen home runs coming up, they'll go to Nicasio. We'll be back. Interesting note, the Rockies, their left-handed batters, have 6 hits against Dodger left-hand pitchers. That means Kershaw, Paco Rodriguez, and Adam Liberatore. Rodriguez giving up a big hit, Liberatore giving up 2, and among other things, Kershaw surrendered 3 hits. So the Dodgers bring in Nicasio. Between Kershaw, Rodriguez, Garcia, Jansen, Liberatore, and Nicasio. That well-worn Dodger bullpen already, and we're in the 15th of May. So Arenado with Rosario back of him, and Nicasio says he's ready. Nolan Arenado, single to left, struck out, flied to right, and walked. So the Rockies down by 2, but they have the tying runs aboard in Blackmon and Descalso. Arenado hitting .293 with a half a dozen home runs. That makes him top man on the club in the power department. He has 17 RBIs. He leads the club in that as well. So a tough hitter up there in the clutch with 1 out in the 9th. 6-4 Dodgers. And fastball strike. There have been so many strikeouts. There have only been 3 walks issued. One out, 2 on. Boy, that fastball really jumped. It was 95 miles an hour. You talk about movement. 0-2 the count. Boy, that was quite a pitch. So it's one thing to go 95 and then to have late life at the very end of it. And that's exactly what happened on that pitch. (0-2) to Nolan Arenado. One and 2. Nicasio, the big fella, working on Arenado. Nicasio is 6'3" and 210. Two on. Blackmon at second. Descalso the tying run at first. 1 away. Chased a bad ball, I think. And Arenado mad at himself. Down he goes. Another Colorado Rockies strikeout. At 17 strikeouts, that pitch way off the plate. So the Rockies are down to their last out, and wouldn't you know, it's the story we've told before. There were 2 kids. One was 16, Willen Rosario. The other was 18, Juan Nicasio. They broke in together in the Dominican Summer League. Very close pals, and here they are going head-to-head with the game on the line. Nicasio, when they brought him in last night in the 6th inning, Rosario hit a ground ball, and there was an error by Rollins. Now with 2 out, Rosario has struck out 3 times and grounded out. Runners go, and the pitch is a strike. The throw, they have pulled off the double steal. Wow. Charlie Blackmon steals third. Descalso, the trailer, steals second. And just like that, the tying runs are in scoring position. Rosmani Grandal, an accurate throw, but Blackmon got such a good jump, he's in there easily. So now Rosario can really have himself a battle. Tommy Reynolds rolling the dice. 0-1 the count to Rosario. One ball, one strike. You know, the Rockies, with runners in scoring position tonight, have struck out 8 times. 8 times with runners in scoring position. 1-1 to Willen Rosario. One and two, a slider down and away. Well, they were two best buddies, but it is a business. And Nicasio trying to take care of Rosario and put the lid on the game. A crowd of 46,662. They've seen it dandy and staying not only for the game, but there'll be some fireworks. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Willen Rosario. You know how many times Rosario struck out going into tonight's game? 4. And he has struck out 3 times tonight. Time. No pitch. No pitch. It was requested by Rosario and naturally granted by Mike Winters. But boy, that's something. Rosario, only 4 strikeouts going into the game, and he struck out in the first inning, struck out in the 4th inning, struck out in the 7th inning, and he's on the ropes here. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Everybody's standing up now. Off the plate. The crowd, of course, wants every pitch a strike. They've certainly seen enough strikes. Not close. Deuce is wild. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out and 2 on, but the 2 on represent the tying run. Time. And again, Grandal going out to talk to Nicasio. Nicasio signed by the Rockies just like Rosario. And Nicasio pitched in Denver in 11, 12, 13, and 14. First base open and a big moment. Charlie Blackmon at third. Danny Descalso the tying run at second. And a 2-2 count to Rosario. Breaking ball, foul back. Two. Fastball got him. Wow. Willen Rosario had 4 strikeouts this year. He strikes out 4 times tonight, and the Dodgers give Clayton Kershaw his 100th career victory. So Nicasio, a brilliant effort to come in and strike out Arenado and Rosario. 18 Rockies bit the dust tonight. Nicasio made 10 pitches, and the Dodgers hang on to win it
The player of the game, certainly Clayton Kershaw. He went 6 2/3, struck out 10, was strong all the way until the 7th inning, and that's when they finally had to get him out of there. But the 10 strikeouts showed Kershaw right at his best, especially from the 2nd inning when he struck out the pitcher through the 5th inning. He was virtually unhittable during that stretch. A lot of guys had a big night, but it's even better as the Dodgers maintain their lead. San Diego is being walloped, so they should be 5 back of the Dodgers. Don't forget tomorrow, Greinke De La Rosa. It'll be the old-timers game coming up, and we'll certainly talk to you then. Till then, good night, everybody.